She stood in the rain, her heart pounding like a drum in a silent war. 7 years had passed, but the weight of betrayal still clung to Elena Harper like damp clothes. New York City's skyline loomed, a glittering reminder of the life she'd lost and the one she'd come back to reclaim. Elena gripped her journal tighter, its pages filled with secrets she'd buried deep. At 32, her short brown hair framed a face hardened by struggle, yet her hazel eyes burned with defiance. She wasn't the naive girl who'd married Daniel Whitaker, the charming tech mogul who'd promised her the world. That girl had died the day he walked out, leaving her with 3 infant daughters and a bank account drained to nothing. Now, she was back, not for revenge, but for truth, a truth that could unravel his empire and rewrite her story. The diner across the street glowed like a beacon. Inside, she knew she'd find Sarah Collins, the woman who'd once been her everything. Sarah, with her golden hair and quiet strength, had been Elena's first love, her safe harbor before Daniel's whirlwind courtship swept her away. They'd been 22, reckless and in love, until Elena's fear of a world that judged them tore them apart. Now, Sarah was a journalist, known for exposing corruption in the city's elite. Elena needed her help, but seeing her again meant facing a past she'd tried to forget. Elena crossed the street, her boots splashing in puddles. The diner's bell jingled as she pushed open the door. Warmth and the scent of coffee enveloped her, but her eyes locked on Sarah, seated in a corner booth. At 31, Sarah was as striking as ever, long blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, her blue eyes scanning a notebook with fierce focus. She hadn't noticed Elena yet, and for a moment, Elena wanted to run. But she couldn't. Not when her daughters Lily, Rose, and Ivy deserved a future free from their father's lies. "Sarah," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah's head snapped up, her expression shifting from surprise to something unreadable, pain, maybe, or hope. The air between them crackled with years of unspoken words. "Elena." Sarah's voice trembled, her pen dropping to the table. "What are you doing here?" "I need you," Elena said, sliding into the booth. "And I owe you the truth." Sarah leaned back, her gaze wary. "You disappeared. Married him. Had kids. And now you show up like nothing happened." Elena's throat tightened. "I didn't know how to face you after everything. But I'm here now, and I'm not the same person. Daniel, he's not who people think he is. I need your help to prove it." Sarah's eyes softened, but her jaw stayed tight. "You broke my heart, Elena. Why should I trust you?" "Because I'm not just fighting for me," Elena said, her voice cracking. "I'm fighting for my girls. And for the part of me I lost when I left you." The diner fell silent around them, the weight of their past filling the space. Sarah's fingers twitched, as if resisting the urge to reach out. Elena slid the journal across the table, its cover worn from years of hiding. "Read this. Then decide." Sarah hesitated, then opened the journal. Her eyes widened as she scanned the first page, a detailed account of Daniel's manipulations, his financial schemes, and the secrets he'd buried to build his fortune. Elena had spent years piecing it together, risking everything to uncover evidence that could destroy him. But it wasn't just about Daniel. The journal held Elena's regrets, her love for Sarah, and the pain of choosing a life she thought was right over the one her heart wanted. "You wrote this?" Sarah asked, her voice low. "This could ruin him." "And me," Elena admitted. "But I can't keep hiding. My daughters deserve to know who their father really is. And I need to make things right with you." Sarah closed the journal, her hands trembling. "This isn't just about exposing him, is it? You're asking me to dive into something that could hurt us both." Elena nodded, tears stinging her eyes. "I know. But I can't do this alone." Sarah looked away, her gaze fixed on the rain-streaked window. "I loved you, Elena. I would have fought for us. But you chose him." "I was scared," Elena whispered. "I thought I was protecting you, protecting myself. I was wrong." The silence stretched, heavy with the weight of their shared history. Sarah's fingers brushed the journal's cover as if weighing the cost of opening old wounds. Finally, she met Elena's eyes. "I'll read it. But this doesn't mean I forgive you." Elena's heart sank, but she nodded. "I'll take whatever you can give." As Sarah flipped through the pages, Elena watched her, memories flooding back, late nights in college, laughing under the stars, promising forever. She'd thrown it all away for a man who'd used her and left her with nothing but 3 beautiful girls and a heart full of regret. Now, standing on the edge of a fight that could change everything, Elena knew one thing: she wasn't just here to expose Daniel. She was here to reclaim the love she'd lost and the woman she'd always been. The rain outside pounded harder, mirroring the storm brewing in Elena's chest. Sarah's eyes flicked up, catching hers. "If we do this," Sarah said, "there's no going back." "I know," Elena replied, her voice steady for the first time. "I'm ready." But was she? As Sarah read on, Elena felt the weight of her choices pressing down. The journal held more than Daniel's secrets. It held the story of her own heart, and exposing it might cost her everything. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, casting shadows over Sarah's face as she read Elena's journal. Each page turned felt like a step closer to a truth neither was prepared for. Elena sat across from her, fingers twisting nervously, the weight of 7 years apart pressing against her chest. Sarah's brow furrowed as she skimmed the entries, dates, transactions, coded messages Daniel had thought were hidden. "He funneled money through offshore accounts?" she asked, her voice sharp with disbelief. "This is massive." Elena nodded. "He built his empire on lies. Fake contracts, bribed officials, even blackmail. I found out after he left, when I was sorting through his old files to pay for the girls' medical bills." Sarah's eyes flicked up, softening briefly. "Your daughters, how old are they now?" 6, Elena said, a faint smile breaking through. "Lily's the dreamer, always sketching. Rose is the firecracker, never sits still. Ivy's the quiet one, but she sees everything." Her voice cracked. "They're why I'm doing this." "He abandoned them, Sarah. He doesn't even know their names." Sarah's expression hardened again, but she didn't interrupt. She turned another page, her fingers pausing on a passage written in Elena's hurried scrawl. "I loved her, but I chose him. I thought it was safer. I was wrong." Sarah's breath hitched, and she closed the journal abruptly. "You wrote about us," she said, her voice barely audible. Elena swallowed hard. "I had to. It's part of my truth. I need you to know why I left, why I made those choices." Sarah leaned back, crossing her arms. "You think writing it down makes it hurt less?" "You walked away, Elena. You chose a man who destroyed you." "I know," Elena said, tears welling. "I was young, scared of what people would think. My family, the world, they made me feel like loving you was wrong. I thought marrying Daniel would fix me." Sarah's eyes glistened, but she didn't look away. "And did it?" "No," Elena whispered. "It broke me." The diner's chatter faded into the background as the 2 women sat in silence, the journal a heavy presence between them. Sarah's fingers drummed on the table, her journalist instincts warring with the ache in her heart. "If I help you," she said finally, "we do this my way. No secrets. No holding back." Elena nodded, relief flooding her. "Anything you need." Sarah pulled out her phone, her demeanor shifting to the sharp focus of the reporter she'd become. "I know people who can dig into Daniel's finances. But we'll need more than this journal. Hard evidence, documents, witnesses, anything to back this up." "I have some," Elena said, reaching into her bag. She pulled out a USB drive, its surface scratched from years of hiding. Bank statements, emails, even a recording of him threatening me when I confronted him about the money. Sarah's eyes widened. "You recorded him?" "I had to," Elena said. "He came to the apartment a year after he left, trying to scare me into signing away my rights to his estate. I was alone with the girls, terrified. But I hit record on my phone." Sarah took the USB, her fingers brushing Elena's for a fleeting moment. The touch sent a jolt through Elena, stirring memories of stolen kisses and whispered promises. She pulled her hand back, her cheeks flushing. "I'll start with this," Sarah said, her voice professional but strained. "But we need to be careful. Daniel's powerful. If he gets wind of this, he'll come for you and your daughters." Elena's stomach twisted. "I know. That's why I came to you. You're the only one I trust." Sarah's lips pressed into a thin line. "Don't say that like it fixes everything." "It doesn't," Elena admitted. "But I'm here now, trying to make it right." Sarah stood, tucking the journal and USB into her bag. "Meet me tomorrow at my office. 10 a.m. Bring everything you have on him." Elena nodded, her heart racing. As Sarah turned to leave, Elena called out, "Sarah, wait." Sarah paused, her back stiff. "I never stopped loving you," Elena said, her voice raw. "I need you to know that." Sarah didn't turn around, but her shoulders softened. "We'll see," she said, then walked out into the rain. Elena sat alone, the diner's warmth fading as reality sank in. She'd taken the first step, but the road ahead was treacherous. Daniel Whitaker wasn't just a man, he was a machine, built on wealth and influence. Exposing him meant risking everything, her safety, her daughters, and the fragile hope of rebuilding something with Sarah. Back at her small Brooklyn apartment, Elena tucked her girls into bed. Lily clutched a sketchbook, Rose sprawled across her pillow, and Ivy stared at the ceiling, her tiny brow furrowed. "Mommy, are we gonna be okay?" Ivy asked, her voice small. Elena kissed her forehead, her heart aching. "We will, baby. I promise." But as she turned off the light, doubt crept in. Daniel had connections everywhere, lawyers, politicians, even the media. If he learned what she was planning, he'd destroy her. She thought of Sarah, the way her eyes had softened despite her anger. Maybe, just maybe, they could do this together. The next morning, Elena arrived at Sarah's office, a small but bustling space in Manhattan. Sarah was already there, surrounded by papers and a laptop glowing with spreadsheets. "I started digging," Sarah said without preamble. "Your journal checks out. His company's been flagged for suspicious activity before, but nothing stuck. We need a whistleblower, someone inside his circle." Elena's mind raced. "There's his former assistant, Maria. She quit after he tried to pin a scandal on her. I tracked her down last year. She might talk." Sarah nodded, jotting down the name. "Good. I'll reach out. But Elena, if we do this, you're putting a target on your back." "I know," Elena said, her voice steady. "But I can't let him win." Sarah met her gaze, and for a moment, the walls between them seemed to crack. "Then let's bring him down," she said. As they worked, the past lingered like a ghost. Every glance, every accidental touch, reminded Elena of what they'd lost. But with each step, she felt something new, a spark of hope that maybe, after all this, she could find her way back to Sarah and to herself. Elena's hands shook as she handed Sarah a folder of documents, Maria's contact information, old emails, and a timeline of Daniel's shady deals. The office hummed with the low buzz of printers and the clatter of keyboards, but for Elena, the world narrowed to Sarah's focused expression. She hadn't slept, haunted by the fear that this fight could cost her everything. Sarah scanned the papers, her journalist's instincts in overdrive. "Maria's our best shot," she said, pinning a note to a board covered in photos and string. "If she confirms what's in your journal, we've got a case. But we need to meet her in person. She won't trust us over the phone." Elena nodded, her stomach churning. Maria had been kind to her during her marriage, slipping her extra cash when Daniel cut her off. But after Maria quit, she'd vanished, likely scared of Daniel's wrath. "She's in Jersey now," Elena said. "I have an address, but it's old." "We'll find her," Sarah said, her voice firm. She glanced at Elena, her blue eyes softening. "You okay? You look like you haven't slept." "I haven't," Elena admitted. "The girls, I keep thinking about what happens if he finds out." He's got people everywhere. Sarah's hand hovered, as if to reach out, then dropped. We'll be careful. I've got contacts who can keep this quiet until we're ready. Elena wanted to believe her, but the memory of Daniel's cold eyes lingered. He'd always been charming in public, a golden boy of tech innovation. But behind closed doors, he'd controlled her every move, isolating her from friends, family, even Sarah. When she'd gotten pregnant with the triplets, he'd seemed thrilled, until the reality of fatherhood set in. Then he'd left, claiming she was too much to handle. Elena, Sarah said, pulling her back to the present. If this gets too hard, you can walk away. I'll take it from here. No, Elena said sharply. I'm done running. This is for my girls and for me. Sarah nodded, a flicker of admiration in her eyes. Then let's get to work. They spent the day tracking Maria, cross-referencing Elena's information with Sarah's database of public records. By afternoon, they had a lead. Maria worked at a small accounting firm in Newark. Sarah arranged a meeting for the next day, her efficiency a stark contrast to Elena's nervous energy. As they left the office, the city buzzed around them, taxis honking, crowds surging. Elena felt exposed, as if Daniel's eyes were everywhere. Sarah, she said, stopping on the sidewalk. If something happens to me, promise you'll look out for my girls. Sarah's face tightened. Nothing's going to happen to you. Promise me, Elena insisted, her voice breaking. Sarah hesitated, then nodded. I promise. The next morning, they drove to Newark, the tension between them palpable. Maria's office was a nondescript building, its lobby smelling of stale coffee. Maria, now in her late 40s, greeted them warily, her dark hair streaked with gray. I don't want trouble, she said, leading them to a small conference room. We're not here to cause it, Sarah said, her tone calm but firm. We need your help to stop Daniel Whitaker. Maria's eyes darted to Elena. You're his ex-wife. I remember you. The triplets, how are they? They're everything to me, Elena said. That's why I'm here. Daniel's crimes, he hurt you too, didn't he? Maria's hands twisted together. He tried to frame me for embezzlement when I started asking questions about his accounts. I quit before he could ruin me, but I've been looking over my shoulder ever since. Sarah leaned forward. We have evidence, documents, recordings. But we need someone who saw it firsthand. Will you talk? Maria hesitated, her fear palpable. If I do this, he'll come after me. We'll protect your name, Sarah said. I've done this before. We can keep you anonymous. Elena reached out, touching Maria's hand. Please. For my daughters. For everyone he's hurt. Maria's eyes softened, and after a long pause, she nodded. Okay. I'll tell you what I know. Over the next hour, Maria detailed Daniel's schemes, how he'd bribed regulators, falsified records, and used shell companies to hide millions. Elena's journal matched Maria's account perfectly, filling in gaps with chilling precision. Sarah recorded every word, her face a mask of determination. As they left, Elena felt a surge of hope, but it was tempered by fear. Maria's testimony was a game-changer, but it also made their mission more dangerous. Daniel's empire was built on secrets, and he'd do anything to keep them buried. Back in the car, Sarah turned to Elena. This is big. Bigger than I thought. We need to be ready for pushback. I know, Elena said, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. But I'm not backing down. Sarah's gaze lingered, a mix of worry and something softer. You've changed, she said quietly. The Elena I knew would have run. I had to change, Elena replied. For my girls. For you. Sarah looked away, her jaw tight. Don't say things like that unless you mean them. I do, Elena said, her heart racing. I always did. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken feelings. As they drove back to the city, Elena felt the past and present colliding. She was fighting for justice, for her daughters, but also for a chance to heal the wounds she'd inflicted on Sarah and on herself. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, she felt ready to face it. The city skyline glittered through Sarah's office window, but Elena barely noticed. Her eyes were fixed on the laptop screen, where Sarah was compiling Maria's testimony with the evidence from the USB. Each click felt like a step closer to confronting Daniel and a step deeper into danger. "We've got enough for a story," Sarah said, her voice steady but tense. "Maria's account, your journal, the recordings, it's damning. But we need one more piece to make it airtight. A paper trail that ties Daniel directly to the bribes." Elena's heart sank. "I gave you everything I have." Sarah leaned back, rubbing her temples. "I know. But he's covered his tracks well. We need something undeniable, bank records, a signed contract, anything." Elena's mind raced. She'd spent years scavenging for scraps of Daniel's deceit, but he was meticulous. Then a memory surfaced, his old laptop, left behind in their apartment after he'd walked out. She'd kept it in storage, unable to throw it away. "There might be something," she said. "Daniel's old laptop. I never checked it. I was too scared." Sarah's eyes lit up. "Where is it?" "In a storage unit in Brooklyn," Elena said. "I can get it tonight." Sarah shook her head. "Not alone. If Daniel's watching you, we can't take risks." Elena wanted to argue, but the fear in Sarah's eyes stopped her. "Okay, we'll go together." That evening, they drove to the storage facility, a dimly lit maze of metal doors. The air was thick with dust, and Elena's nerves jangled as she unlocked her unit. Inside, amidst boxes of baby clothes and old photos, was the laptop, sleek, silver, a relic of Daniel's opulent life. Sarah plugged it in, her fingers flying over the keys. "It's password protected," she said, frowning. "Any guesses?" Elena thought back to their marriage, to Daniel's arrogance. "Try Empire Builder 69, she said. "He used it for everything." Sarah typed it in, and the screen unlocked. They exchanged a glance, the air charged with possibility. Files loaded, spreadsheets, emails, encrypted folders. Sarah's eyes widened as she opened one labeled offshore. It was a goldmine, transactions linking Daniel to illicit payments, names of officials he'd bribed, even a memo outlining his plan to frame Maria. "This is it," Sarah whispered. "This could end him." Elena's relief was cut short by a noise, a faint scrape outside the unit. Her heart froze. "Did you hear that?" Sarah tensed, her hand pausing on the laptop. "Stay here," she said, grabbing a flashlight. She stepped outside, the beam cutting through the dark. Elena followed, her pulse racing. The hallway was empty, but the air felt heavy, like someone was watching. "Probably nothing," Sarah said, but her voice lacked conviction. They hurried back to the unit, downloaded the files to a new USB, and left, the laptop tucked under Elena's arm. Back at Sarah's apartment, they pored over the data. The evidence was overwhelming, millions in laundered money, fake charities, even a shell company tied to a senator. Sarah's face was grim. This isn't just about Daniel anymore. This could bring down half the city's elite. Elena's stomach twisted. "What does that mean for us?" "It means we're in deep," Sarah said. "We need to publish soon, before he catches on." Elena nodded, but fear gnawed at her. Daniel wasn't just powerful, he was ruthless. She thought of her girls, asleep at her neighbor's apartment. If he found out, would he come for them? As if sensing her thoughts, Sarah reached out, her hand covering Elena's. "We'll protect them," she said. "I promised, remember?" The touch sent a warmth through Elena, stirring memories of their college days, nights spent tangled in each other's arms, dreaming of a future they thought they'd have. "I don't deserve you," Elena said, her voice thick. Sarah pulled her hand back, her expression conflicted. "Don't. Not now." Elena nodded, swallowing her emotions. They worked late into the night, drafting the story that would expose Daniel. But as they typed, Elena couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Her phone buzzed, and she froze. An unknown number. The message was simple: "Stop digging, or your girls pay." Her blood ran cold. She showed Sarah, whose face paled. "He knows," Sarah said. We need to move fast. Elena's hands trembled as she dialed her neighbor, confirming the girls were safe. We can't stop, she said, her voice shaking but resolute. He's scared. That means we're close. Sarah nodded, her jaw set. Then we finish this. Together. As they worked, Elena stole glances at Sarah, her heart aching with regret and hope. She'd lost so much: her youth, her love, her trust. But sitting here, fighting for justice beside the woman she'd never stopped loving, Elena felt a flicker of redemption. The road was dangerous, but for the first time, she wasn't walking it alone. Elena's hands shook as she clutched her phone, the threatening message burning into her mind. The girls were safe for now, but Daniel's words echoed, "Stop digging, or your girls pay." Sarah's apartment, once a safe haven, felt like a cage closing in. "We need to get the girls somewhere secure," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "I know a place, a friend's cabin upstate. No one will find them there." Elena nodded, her throat tight. "Okay, but I'm not leaving them." Sarah hesitated, then agreed. "We'll both go. We can work from there." They packed quickly, Elena's mind racing. She called her neighbor, arranging for the girls to be ready. By midnight, they were on the road, Lily, Rose, and Ivy asleep in the back seat, their small faces peaceful despite the storm brewing around them. Sarah drove, her hands gripping the wheel, while Elena watched the rearview mirror, half expecting Daniel's men to appear. The cabin was nestled in the Catskills, surrounded by dense forest. Sarah's friend, a gruff ex-cop named Tom, met them at the door. "No one gets in without my say," he said, his eyes scanning the darkness. Elena felt a flicker of relief, but it didn't erase the dread in her chest. Inside, they set up a makeshift office. Sarah connected the laptop to a secure server, uploading the evidence to a cloud drive only she could access. "We're close," she said, her voice low to avoid waking the girls. "I've drafted the article. It's explosive, but we need to time it right, hit when he least expects it." Elena glanced at her daughters, curled up on a couch. "What if he comes for them before we publish?" Sarah's jaw tightened. "He won't. Tom's got this place locked down, and I've got a contact at the FBI. We'll leak enough to get them interested without tipping Daniel off." Elena wanted to believe her, but the message replayed in her mind. She thought of Daniel's charm, how he'd convinced the world he was a visionary. She'd fallen for it once, trading her love for Sarah for a lie. Now, she was fighting to undo that mistake, but the cost felt heavier with every step. As dawn broke, Sarah's phone buzzed, a message from Maria. "She's nervous," Sarah said, reading it. "Says someone's been following her. We need to move her too." Elena's heart sank. "This is my fault. I dragged her into this." "No," Sarah said firmly. "Daniel did this. He's the one who built this house of lies." They arranged for Maria to join them at the cabin, Tom picking her up under cover of darkness. When she arrived, her face was pale, her eyes starting. "He's onto you," she whispered to Elena. "One of his guys came to my office asking questions." Elena's stomach churned, but Sarah stayed calm. "We're almost there," she said. "One more day and we publish." That night, as the girls slept, Elena and Sarah sat by the fire, the laptop glowing between them. The article was nearly complete, a scathing exposé of Daniel's crimes, backed by Maria's testimony, Elena's journal, and the laptop files. But as they worked, Elena's eyes kept drifting to Sarah. The firelight danced on her face, and for a moment, Elena saw the girl she loved, the one who'd made her feel whole. "Sarah," Elena said, her voice soft. "I know I hurt you. I'll never forgive myself for it. But being here, with you, it's like I'm finding myself again." Sarah's eyes met hers, a storm of emotions swirling. "You don't get to say that and expect it to fix everything," she said, her voice raw. "I loved you, Elena. I would have given up everything for you. But you left." "I know," Elena whispered, tears falling. "I was wrong. I was scared of who I was, of what the world would think. But I'm not scared anymore. Sarah's breath hitched, and she looked away, her hands clenched. I can't do this right now. We have to focus. Elena nodded, her heart aching. She wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap, but Sarah was right. The fight came first. By morning, the article was ready. Sarah sent a draft to her editor, a trusted ally who'd promised to run it on the front page. But as they waited for confirmation, Tom burst in, his face grim. We've got company. Black SUV, parked a mile out. They're watching. Elena's blood ran cold. She scooped up the girls, her heart pounding. What do we do? Sarah grabbed the laptop, her face set. We publish now. It's our only leverage. As Tom secured the cabin, Sarah uploaded the article to her outlet's server, hitting send. The story went live, a digital bomb detonating across the internet. Within minutes, notifications flooded Sarah's phone, reporters, bloggers, even the FBI reaching out. But the relief was short-lived. Headlights pierced the dawn, and Tom's voice rang out. They're here. Elena clutched her girls, her heart racing. Sarah grabbed her hand, their eyes locking. We'll get through this, Sarah said. Together. As the SUV's doors slammed, Elena felt the weight of her choices crashing down. She'd come to expose Daniel's darkest secrets, but now her own were laid bare. The fight wasn't over, it was just beginning. The cabin's walls seemed to close in as headlights swept across the windows. Elena held Lily, Rose, and Ivy close, their small bodies trembling against her. Sarah stood by the door, her phone clutched tightly, waiting for confirmation that the article had reached the right people. Tom, his gun drawn, peered through the blinds. 2 men, he whispered. They're not moving yet, but they're armed. Elena's heart pounded. Daniel sent them, she said, her voice shaking. He knows. Sarah's eyes met hers, fierce with determination. The story's out. The FBI's been looped in. He can't stop this now. But the fear in Elena's chest didn't ease. She kissed her daughter's foreheads, whispering, It's okay, babies. Mommy's here. Ivy's wide eyes locked on hers, and Elena's resolve hardened. She'd started this for them, she wouldn't let Daniel win. Tom motioned for them to move to the back room, where Maria waited, her face pale. Stay low, he said. I'll handle this. Sarah grabbed Elena's arm. If anything happens, you take the girls and run. There's a back path through the woods. Tom showed me. I'm not leaving you, Elena said, her voice firm. Sarah's expression softened, but she didn't argue. They crouched in the dark, the girls' soft whimpers the only sound. Outside, gravel crunched as the men approached. A voice called out, cold and commanding. Elena Harper. Come out or we come in. Elena's blood froze. Sarah squeezed her hand, grounding her. They're bluffing, Sarah whispered. They won't risk a scene with the article live. But the men didn't wait. A loud crash echoed as the front door splintered. Tom fired a warning shot, and the girls screamed. Elena covered their mouths, her heart racing. Shh, babies, stay quiet. Sarah's phone buzzed, her editor. FBI's on their way, she whispered. We just need to hold them off. Tom's voice rang out. Back off. You're on private property. A second crash, then gunfire. Elena's stomach lurched as she shielded the girls. Sarah grabbed a fire poker, her face set. Stay here, she said, moving toward the door. No, Elena hissed, grabbing her. You're not going out there. I have to, Sarah said, her eyes blazing. I promise to protect them. Before Elena could argue, Tom shouted, they're retreating. The headlights outside dimmed as the SUV's engine roared, then faded. Silence fell, heavy and surreal. Tom burst in, his face grim. They're gone, but they'll be back. We need to move. Elena's legs shook as she gathered the girls. Sarah helped, her hands steady despite the chaos. They piled into Tom's truck, Maria clutching the laptop. As they sped down the mountain, Elena's mind raced. The article was out, but Daniel was still a threat. And the look in Sarah's eyes, fear mixed with fierce loyalty, stirred something deep in Elena's heart. They reached a safe house in Albany by dawn, a nondescript apartment arranged by Sarah's FBI contact. The girls, exhausted, fell asleep on a couch, while Elena, Sarah, and Maria huddled around the laptop. News outlets were picking up the story, Daniel's face plastered across headlines, tech mogul accused of fraud, bribery. "He's done," Maria said, her voice trembling with relief. "Not yet," Sarah said. "He'll fight this. We need to be ready." Elena's phone buzzed, a news alert. Daniel had released a statement, denying everything, claiming Elena was a disgruntled ex-wife out for revenge. Her blood boiled. "He's lying to the world, like always." Sarah's hand found hers, a quiet anchor. "Let him lie. The evidence speaks for itself." As the day unfolded, the FBI reached out, requesting a meeting. Sarah coached Elena and Maria on what to say, her calm professionalism a lifeline. But in the quiet moments, Elena felt the weight of their past. She'd hurt Sarah, chosen a path that led to pain. Yet here Sarah was, fighting beside her. That night, as the girls slept, Elena found Sarah on the balcony, staring at the city lights. "Thank you," Elena said, her voice soft. "For everything." Sarah didn't look at her. "I'm doing this for justice. Not for you." Elena's heart ached, but she stepped closer. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to know I love you. I always have." Sarah's breath caught, and she turned, her eyes glistening. "You can't just say that and expect it to erase the past." "I don't," Elena said, tears falling. "But I'm here now, fighting for what's right. For my girls, for you, for me." Sarah's walls cracked, and she reached out, brushing a tear from Elena's cheek. "I don't know if I can trust you again," she said, her voice raw. "But I want to." Elena's heart leapt, but before she could speak, Sarah's phone rang. The FBI was ready to meet. The fight wasn't over, but as they prepared, Elena felt a spark of hope. She'd exposed Daniel's darkness, but maybe, just maybe, she could rebuild the light she'd lost with Sarah. The FBI office in Albany was a sterile maze of glass and steel, but to Elena, it felt like the edge of a battlefield. She sat beside Sarah and Maria, the girls safe with Tom at the safe house. Her journal, the USB, and Daniel's laptop sat on the table, a testament to their fight. Agent Carter, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, reviewed the evidence. "This is solid," she said, her voice clipped. "Whitaker's going down, but we need your testimony to seal it. Are you prepared for what that means?" Elena's stomach twisted, but she nodded. "Whatever it takes." Sarah's hand brushed hers under the table, a silent reassurance. Maria, still shaken, agreed to testify anonymously. As they left, Carter warned them to stay low. Daniel was under investigation, but he was still free and dangerous. Back at the safe house, Elena tucked the girls into bed, their questions weighing on her. "Why are we hiding, Mommy?" Rose asked, her eyes wide. "We're keeping you safe," Elena said, kissing her forehead. "Soon we'll go home." But home felt like a distant dream. The news was a frenzy, Daniel's empire crumbling, his allies distancing themselves. Yet his statement haunted Elena, painting her as a liar. She wondered if the world would ever see her truth. Sarah worked tirelessly, coordinating with her editor and the FBI. Her strength anchored Elena, but the tension between them lingered. That night, as the girls slept, Elena found Sarah in the kitchen, staring at a photo of them from college, young, laughing in love. "You kept that?" Elena asked, her voice soft. Sarah nodded, her eyes distant. "Couldn't let it go." Elena stepped closer, her heart pounding. "I'm sorry, Sarah. For everything. I know I can't undo the past, but I want to fight for a future with you, if you'll let me." Sarah's eyes met hers, raw and vulnerable. "I loved you so much," she said, her voice breaking. "When you left, it broke me. I don't know if I can go through that again." Elena took her hand, tears falling. I'm not that person anymore. I'm here and I'm not leaving. Sarah's breath hitched, and she pulled Elena into a hug, their bodies trembling with years of pain and love. I don't know what this means, Sarah whispered. But I want to try. Elena's heart soared, but reality crashed in. The next morning, Carter called. Daniel had been arrested, but he'd hired the best lawyers, claiming the evidence was fabricated. The fight was far from over. Elena and Sarah testified in a closed hearing, their words cutting through Daniel's lies. Maria's anonymous statement corroborated everything. The evidence was undeniable, and by week's end, Daniel was indicted on multiple charges: fraud, bribery, money laundering. His empire collapsed, his name synonymous with scandal. But for Elena, the victory was bittersweet. The world knew her truth, but the cost was steep: her privacy, her safety, the scars of her past laid bare. She and the girls moved to a new apartment, funded by a settlement from Daniel's seized assets. It wasn't much, but it was a fresh start. Sarah stayed, helping Elena rebuild. They took it slow, navigating the fragile trust between them. One evening, as the girls played in their new room, Sarah sat beside Elena on the couch. I read your journal again, Sarah said. The parts about us. You meant it, didn't you? Every word, Elena said, her voice steady. Sarah smiled, a real smile, the kind Elena hadn't seen in years. Then let's write a new chapter. Together. Elena took her hand, tears of relief falling. She'd exposed Daniel's darkest secrets, but in doing so, she'd found her own truth. She was a mother, a survivor, a woman who loved fiercely. And with Sarah by her side, she was finally home. The girls ran in, laughing, their sketches and toys scattered. Lily handed Elena a drawing: two women holding hands, three small figures beside them. Is this us? Elena asked, her heart full. Yeah, Lily said. Our family. Elena looked at Sarah, who squeezed her hand. The past was a shadow, but the future was theirs to build. They'd face the darkness together, and now they'd live in the light.